My name is Ryan. My friend Kyle and I have taken our barroom conversations to the internet in the form of Michigan's most up-and-coming sports talk podcast. From baseball to Bigfoot, we cover it all. You're in for a treat because you have found the Turbo and 2K show. What's up, 2K crew? This is your host, Turbo, and always across the bar from me is Mr. Kyle 2K's Kaler. We are getting things kicked off here on Sunday. We've got the Rockets in Golden State playing in the background. We've got some draft talk. We are going to talk some NBA playoffs, and we're going to try to filter in some little tidbits here and there because we did have a guest lined up for this week, but she was under the weather. So McKenna, get better, and we hope to hear from you shortly. All right, Mr. 2Ks, what a draft.
Yeah.
What a draft. And this is kind of the reason why we decided not to speculate, not be Mel Kiper Jr. Didn't want to go that on your ass. We figured we would be more reactionary than prognosticating, if you will. Yes, I dropped a lot of syllables on that word. But yeah, I think overall, I don't think anyone really saw all of this coming. And we're going to give you some winners, some losers, and we're probably going to beat up the Lions. So grab a drink, get a comfy seat, and we'll flash our draft know-how and everything at you coming up right now. So, Mr. 2Ks, we kind of hinted on it a little bit. And I think it came to fruition what I think both of us kind of agreed was a very bad decision was Kyler Murray going number one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because Nick Bosa being there. I mean, I don't know if I bet he's about as sure as it gets. Like, I mean, I think we're probably talking about a future Hall of Fame, pass rusher when it's all said and done. And they passed up on that there is it's high risk, but it's high reward also. Yes. with Murray. I'm not a huge Murray lover, but he does have game, and they're taking a huge risk on it, but it could pay off. Time will tell.
Yep, and I think we can both agree that not only the coach and the GM kind of hitched their wagon to that, and it's their job depending on it. So I hope for the sake of not only them and Kyler Murray and all Arizona Cardinals fans out there, I hope he's the splash that you guys were looking for. I think you guys are giving up way too quickly on Josh Rosen. I think he's going to be a better long-term situation than Kyler Murray ever will be. I think everyone's so enamored with what these shorter quarterbacks have done lately. Mm-hmm. Baker Mayfield last year came up and lit it up. And I think a lot of that has to do with not only his height, but his off-field presence, his attitude, his, his drive to win. And I'm not saying Kyler's worse than that, but I think if it wasn't for him and Russell Wilson, and, Russell Wilson's your highest paid player in the NFL now, I think it's players like them kind of paved the road for him. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, and maybe that's why you and I are sitting here talking on a podcast and not in the in the war room of these teams, because I just don't see it.
I mean, one of the biggest difference between Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield is when I watching Mayfield when he was at Oklahoma, he just looked like a leader to me. He was always jumping up, his teammates' ass, getting on him and everything.
Yep.
You knew, he just wanted to win. And I didn't see that with Kyler Murray. Mm-hmm. He wasn't that fiery guy, on the sidelines like you want. First one that comes to mind, Tom Brady. He's always firing in on his offensive lineman and everything.
And his offensive coordinator.
Yes. But, that's what it takes to be an above average quarterback in the NFL. You have to hold your teammates accountable. You have to be that leader, and that's one thing with Kyler Murray. The numbers are there. What he did at Oklahoma, I don't care what defense he's playing against. The numbers are amazing, but can he come into the NFL and come into an NFL locker room and be a leader like Baker Mayfield did in his first year in Cleveland? I don't think he can do that.
And I think to kind of give Baker a little bit more pat on the back, I think it was because of him and some of the young teammates that are in Cleveland ultimately kind of got that coach out and brought their own regime in, and where everyone else was just kind of stagnant.
Yeah, and let's just be real. The situation that Baker went into, that Cleveland team, they built up in the draft. I mean, this is before, this offseason where they're bringing in Odell and all that, but they had a lot of young kids coming up, and that was Arizona, they have a long way to go. I mean, you guys might have your quarterback of the future, but you got a lot more holes in that lineup that you got to fill.
And there's a lot of the main draft guys were talking that this was the right decision because there was too many holes to fill in the offensive line. There was too many, they were saying that Kyler's athleticism could kind of help fill some of these holes and kind of, blend out the gaps. To me, that's not the way to do it.
Mm-mm.
You're in my opinion, and like I said, we're sitting here talking to you on a podcast and not in the NFL, but I think it's just common sense to where when you do draft a quarterback or any kid, that early in the draft, you want to set him up for success, not have him running around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, even going back to Carr when he was drafted by the Texans, number 1 overall, pretty sure he got sacked more in his career than anyone in the history of the NFL. Everyone gave him shit. It's not his fault.
No.
when you can't be a successful quarterback when you have not even 2 seconds to throw the fucking ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I granted, Murray's a great athlete. There's no doubt about that. He's the only person in the history to be drafted by, number 1 overall in football and in the first round of the baseball draft.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at some of the Bo Jackson didn't even do that.
Mm.
Then to me, Bo is by far one of the best athletes I've ever seen. And when you're getting into waters like that, yes, I think his potential is kind of untapped. But if I'm taking a quarterback number 1 overall, I want a more polished, I want a more NFL ready, and not just a freak athlete. And maybe obviously Arizona thinks differently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there and in this draft, granted it was, now you and I were big Dwayne Haskins fans. Big. I still am.
Mm-hmm.
Still am.
Absolutely. I think he was the best quarterback in the draft.
And to see him fall, what did he go?
15.
15? Wow. And for the Giants, oh my gosh.
What are they doing?
What was that kid's name? Where are we at here?
That's sad when you don't even. I mean, Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
but it's sad when you have to look at the list here to remember his name
Right.
because that Giants. What are you guys doing?
And I granted that everyone's like, oh, that was their guy. Well, I have a feeling they could have got him in the 2nd or 3rd round because he was the only person that was married to that team.
If you wanted him, why did you not take? Josh Allen was the next pick. Honestly, and the way I had kind of guys rated up, I had Bosa as my number 1 player in the draft. I had Josh Allen as my number 2 player in the draft. So you could have taken Josh Allen then, and then with your 2nd round pick, I'm pretty sure Daniel Jones probably still would have been on the board for you there.
Yeah. And I mean, there's things to be said. I mean, granted, obviously. And when I sent out the show agenda to Kyle, I did make a joking point that the Giants drafted Eli Jr. And the motherfucker looks like he could be a stunt double for Eli if he ever did action movies. And I get the fact that he's been through the Manning passing academies. He has a very good relationship with not only Eli but Peyton and all the stuff that they've done in all their camps and stuff, and they've had their eye on him for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But do you really need to take him that early?
Yeah,
I don't get that.
That's my question with it too. I don't. If that's the quarterback that you guys wanted, great, you got him. But why did you use your 6th pick of the draft on a guy that you could have got potentially in the 3rd round?
Yeah, I really don't think there was a lot of people lining up to fight over that one. That's for sure. That is for sure. And just some kind of other things here. Yeah, the Raiders had a ton of picks.
Yeah,
They really didn't sparkle me, didn't dazzle me. I think they did. In my opinion, I think they could have used at least their first pick a little differently. But I think overall they made some safe picks.
yeah,
They really did.
I like the Josh Jacobs pick. They needed a running back. It was time to move on from the Lynch era, and I think that with Jacobs, they finally got their go-to guy. So I like that pick. Yes, the fourth overall pick with the Farrell kid from Clemson. Very good football player. But I think there was 3 or 4 defensive ends, pass rushers that were, I think, better than him. So that was where I think
and
maybe a little bit of a stretch on that.
Maybe off of that Clemson team.
Yeah,
There might have been a little bit better options to go. And that was kind of a theme with, if you watch the first, second, I'll be 2K crew. I will admit to you, I did not watch a minute of the third round or after. So I'm relying on NFL.com for all of my draft grades and everything. But I did watch the first 2 rounds, so just to give you guys a little bit of context. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure any normal fan, unless you're your team. Mm-hmm. You're a Cowboys fan. I'm a Bears fan. I followed what my team did.
Yeah.
Which, all in all, it wasn't a very, Cowboys were the same way. They didn't have a first round pick.
No.
And
yeah, it sucks watching the draft and your team not having a first round pick, but I don't regret the going out and getting Amari Cooper trade one bit. Dallas wouldn't have even been in the playoffs if it wasn't for that trade.
It's the same thing, being a Bears fan where who'd you guys draft in the first round? Khalil Mack.
Yeah. Well, that one's easy. Yeah. I mean, I would probably give up my first round pick for 3 or 4 years. As long as if I can get Khalil Mack out of it,
a very young Khalil Mack.
Yes.
He's still got a lot of mileage left. He's probably barely even clipping his prime right now. But no, I think the Bears had a very solid draft. The Cowboys did as well. There really wasn't. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Okay, Lions. Come on now. Your fans are so loyal. I mean, I've probably never seen a more loyal fan base in my life. And if TJ Hawkinson is your dude, I get it, man. Go get him. But at the number 8 pick, when there's so many, and I was talking to a few folks last night, and of course Lions fans, and they're all fired up and
fired up in a good way or questioning it.
Questioning. I did have one gentleman I spoke to last night was all about it. I mean, he was all about it, and I think that and I would hate to be this kid right now because you have a lot of fucking pressure on your back. Being that number 1 overall pick, and everyone has coined you as the next Gronkowski. And if we remember right, Gronkowski didn't even go till the 3rd round.
Mm-hmm.
And Corey, who we were talking to last night, brought up a good point. He's like, there's not even a Hall of Fame tight end that's went in the top 10. Ever. Ever. I mean, granted, we're not saying that this kid is a Hall of Famer. And to be honest with you, I don't think I watched an Iowa game.
Yeah, I've watched a little bit. I've watched a little bit of tape on him, and I watch a lot of Big Ten football, so I've seen him play a few games. He's impressive. He's very impressive. And the thing about him is, he doesn't have any weaknesses. I mean, he's a great route runner. He's an above-average tight end athlete. He's a great run blocker.
I was going to say from everything that
he does,
from everything I read, his main the thing that everyone was hitching their wagon to with this kid is he is an amazing blocker.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm sitting in the war room in Detroit, in my opinion, they're at number 8. Look at all the players that went 8 and beyond in the first round. There are so much more holes to fill in Detroit. First and foremost, this was a draft loaded with excellent defensive players.
Yeah. especially defensive linemen.
Yes, and offensive linemen. I mean, there's just tons of them. I have a feeling that this kid would have been there at number 43 when they picked again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe a little bit of a stretch. But to me, there was, if you didn't get him, I think there was 3 or 4 other tight ends that were maybe not quite his caliber, but right there.
Well,
and
his teammate from Iowa.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the reason why I question the pick, and I'm not a big Lions follower. I'm not. If they're not playing Dallas, I probably root for them because they are the Michigan team. But Stafford's never been that guy that checks down to his tight end very often. You know, he's always been, well, for years, you know, he had Kelvin, so he was always throwing to him. Then he ended up with Golden Tate, and Golden Tate was his guy. And now it's Kenny Galladay's kind of taken over that role. And he's never really been that. I mean, you used a first-round pick a few years ago on Ebron.
Yeah.
And Ebron never did anything. All I heard about was how much of a bust that was. He's terrible. He's awful. Well, he's not terrible. Because if you watch some Colts games last year, Ebron's a fucking stud.
Yeah, he was in the top 5 with touchdown catches, period.
Yeah.
And I would wager a guess that he had more touchdown receptions last year than he probably did in Detroit combined. I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but and if not, it's probably pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Probably pretty close. So, and what's funny is that, and taking nothing away from the linebacker from Hawaii, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, Tavai.
Yeah, never even heard of him.
No, and he was drawing comparisons to Tim Hightower, and I'm pretty sure, and this is great fact checking by myself. I'm almost positive that Hightower went in the same draft as Eric Ebron. So if the Lions were indeed looking for a linebacker of Hightower's caliber, they could have had him. Mm-hmm. They could have had him. So, there's, like I said, this was one of the more kind of blah drafts for me.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot of excitement in it, especially, I was excited watching the first round. There was and the Rosen finally getting traded over to the Dolphins. That was a big deal to me. I thought the Dolphins had a really good draft all the way through, and then picking up Rosen in that.
For those that didn't catch it, for a 2nd round pick.
Yes.
What, a 5th round pick next year?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, he was the 10th overall pick last year on a garbage team that they should, the owners of the Cardinals should just give Larry Fitzgerald a portion of the team, because that dude has been through the good, the bad, and now the completely disgusting ugly. And you could argue that without Kurt Warner there, they'd still be garbage and probably not even relevant. And Larry Fitzgerald is one of those guys that if you were drafting a team of just amazing individuals, he would probably be your 1st or 2nd pick. Just all around amazing person. What he does off the field is even better than what he does on. And he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. If he's not, the NFL is completely stupid. But yeah, they should just give him a portion of the team as like a parting gift. Thank you. We're sorry we fucked your whole career up. You could have went anywhere else. Could you imagine Larry Fitzgerald with Tom Brady?
Oh. I was just gonna say I'm still waiting for Fitzgerald to drop his first pass in his career, because I've never seen the guy drop anything. No, if his hands touch it, I swear he catches every ball that's thrown his way.
Oh yeah, and yeah, he's probably got one of the most sure set of hands. And getting back to the Tom Brady thing, if he would have been there, there's no Wes Welker, there's no Julian Edelman. That's a dangerous combination that had Fitzgerald done things differently, I think he would have ended up at a place like that, just playing to win, playing to get a title, and playing for a lot less money. And he's never been a money-hungry person. So something like that would have been fun to see. But you know what? He's doing his career the way he wants. And there is something to be said about his character because he is in that one spot, regardless, win, lose, or draw. And one other thing I wanted to touch on, too, was now that we brought Tom Brady up, the Patriots draft. I mean, I was using when you and I were talking last night, I was using the analogy that, you're in Vegas, you're playing blackjack, and it's just, you're sitting there with 13 and the dealer's showing 14. And it seems like almost every year the Patriots are like, they pass. Mm-hmm. They're waiting for everyone else to bust. Mm-hmm. And God damn it, they did it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did it again.
I honestly think they got the biggest steal in the draft with, and I know everybody's going to say, "Oh, you're Michigan bias." No, they got Chase Winovich in the 3rd round, and he fits that New England style to a T. I mean, he is just that. He plays freaking balls to the wall every play. And you know Belichick's going to love that style.
Well, he's a white DN, so he has to have a high motor.
Yes. And he is like, he's your prototypical Belichick guy. Like, he just plays balls to the wall all the time, and Belichick's going to love that. And I think he's going to have a great career in New England.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. The only thing that would kind of hamper me with him is injuries. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's definitely something that you really can't plan for. I know no one really does, but yeah, it's almost irritating how machine-like and how regimented they are. They're just one time, getting back to Larry Fitzgerald dropping a pass. I'm waiting for the Patriots to miss on a draft pick.
Yeah,
I really am.
Yeah. It's like you'll look over. Like I found myself last night looking over after the draft finished up, looking over what every team took, and I'm going through New England's and I'm looking at all their picks and I'm looking at the ratings that all these experts have given them, and I'm like, God damn it, the Patriots did it again.
Yeah,
yeah. When are they going to go away?
Yeah, I'm looking over their draft recap. They took the wide receiver out of Arizona State in the 1st round, corner out of Vanderbilt, Chase Winovich.
The corner out of Vanderbilt is he's intriguing.
Williams.
He's a very, very big defensive back. I want to say he's listed at 6'4".
Oh no shit, he's that big.
Yeah, I watched him play in a game, and he was all over the field, making plays everywhere. So that, yeah. I liked him when I watched him,
and you know that they're using their draft picks well when they take a punter in the it's like the 7th round, but kind of a sneaky pick that they picked up is Jared Stidham out of Auburn, and to kind of get back to how kind of mundane and kind of watered down the draft was. I think it was because there was a lack of skill positions. Your quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, as opposed to years past when, there's always the quarterback that's moving up everyone's board, or the wide receiver, or, the basically your fantasy football type players. And this was one of those drafts that kind of makes you remember that you can have the best fantasy players in the world, but if you don't have people to rush the passer or block for said fantasy players, you're not going to do shit. Mm-hmm. So this was, it was a more of a foundation building draft in my eyes, as opposed to anything jumping out at the page. And, there was talk that, I guess what was his name? Daniel Jones. I forgot his name already.
Mm-hmm. Daniel Jones. Yep.
There was a lot of, everyone knew Kyler Murray was going in the 1st round. Everyone knew Haskins was going in the 1st round. It was just a matter of where each one of them were going. And I think kind of after that, the quarterbacks, in my eyes, just, there was 1 and 2, and then 3 on were, Mm-hmm. And a lot of the draft folks said that this draft was, there's only 14 to 16 legitimate 1st round picks. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, every team has to go, so there's 32. So, yeah, that's when you kind of see some of these reaches, but there was more reaches towards the beginning of the draft that I really can't wrap my head around. And like I said, maybe that's the reason why we're sitting here and not in the NFL. But I mean,
I got kind of a fun question to ask. I mean, and so we're talking about the Patriots, and we're talking about intriguing pick and the quarterback and Jarrett Stidham, and they took him in the 4th round. Now I'm going to go out on a limb and say he has a better career than Daniel Jones, who the Giants took with the 6th overall pick. What do you guys think?
I don't. If you're asking me, in my opinion, Stidham has a better career being a career backup than Eli Jr. would even starting. So,
I mean, let's just be real. Brady's probably got what, at best case scenario, another 3 years in him.
Yeah. Let's give him 3 solid years.
So you play for 3 years behind Brady.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't think of anybody else I'd want to play behind to learn a system from.
Right.
And then you jump in that. And by this time, Daniel Jones might not even be a Giant anymore because they're probably, on to their next quarterback.
Right. Or he's just been, his shoulder's broken from getting 300-pound dudes falling on him. But no, in my opinion, the Dolphins won the draft, in my opinion. They shored up a lot of offensive and defensive areas. And to get Josh Rosen for the price that they did, fuck me, get out of here. No, and I have a feeling that if you would have asked the Cardinals before the draft, they said, there was probably no doubt in their mind that they're going to get a 1st-round pick back for Josh Rosen. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, I would take every quarterback drafted except for Haskins over Josh Rosen any day of the week. Any day of the week. Eli Jr., especially Eli Jr., any of them. And that's not a knock on them. It's just I think Josh Rosen is going to be a very, very good pro, and I will hitch my wagon to that. And that's, and like I said, you're basically trading a 2nd-round pick for a top 10 overall pick. Mm-hmm. That's no brainer to me. Mm-hmm. That's and on top of that, if you think about his contract is very team friendly because he was the number 10 overall pick. He was the 1st-round pick, so you get the optional 5th year on that rookie contract. So you're getting him at a very, and he still has 4 years left on that deal. So in my opinion, that's a win all the way around. And the Dolphins, unfortunately, are still looking for that quarterback after Marino, which I know it's been for ever. Mm-hmm. They're that one team that really hasn't, when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, let's be honest. Ryan Tannehill was not the answer, obviously. And if you look at some of the weapons there in Miami, they've got a good offense. Mm-hmm. They've got a solid defense. It's just been the linchpin right there is the quarterback. And, with that, you even go to like Jacksonville, and I'm sure every Jacksonville fan is hoping that Nick Foles can do the same thing. And granted, Nick Foles has a little bit more of a resume right now, but is it a good resume? Mm-hmm. To me, it's still he did well in Philadelphia. He hasn't done well at all everywhere else. Yeah. So this is his put up or shut up, suck my dick year. Be the big man on campus. And with a quarterback, that team is scary. Mm-hmm. Same with the Dolphins. So I think if you would ask the Dolphins before the draft started, be like, yo, would you take Josh Rosen for a 2nd-round pick? I think before the sentence was done, they would say yes. Yeah. They would say yes.
The team that kind of stands out to me is the Redskins. I think if before the draft started, if you would have told them that they were going to end up with Haskins with the 15th pick, they'd have been like, you're crazy. Yeah. So I think they got the best quarterback in the draft with the 15th pick. And then after that, they traded back up into the 1st round, got the 26th pick, and ended up with Montez Sweat, who I know there's a lot of the questions with him are the heart issues that he has. Yeah. But I think they've kind of cleared it up here lately that everything is good with him.
Right.
And he's going to be fine. I remember last year with the big defensive tackle from Michigan he had the heart issues. Well, he went on and was just fine in Oakland as a rookie. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. He's a stud. There's also some off the field issues with him, but he's been fine the last couple of years. He wasn't in trouble anymore. So
he wasn't caught on video smoking out of a gas mask.
yeah. And then they came right back in the third round and ended up with Terry McLaurin, a wide receiver from Ohio State. So Haskins is very familiar with him.
Yes.
So that and then in the fourth round ended up getting Bryce Love, and very, very good running back for Stanford for a long time. So their picks were pretty intriguing to me.
And with the Redskins, the most intriguing part of that is they didn't have to spend $300 million to get one of those players.
No.
So it was a win-win all the way around, Albert Hainsworth. But there was, like I said, this was a foundation building draft, and I think if we look back, 5 years from now, we'll be like, damn, that draft was loaded. Mm-hmm. But with players where they're not the sexy picks. Yeah, they're not these type of things are what wins championships. Mm-hmm. Your defensive line, your offensive line, and then sprinkle in some key positions.
Yep.
And it's where I remember growing up. Quarterback is still, he's the stud. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going anywhere unless you're Trent Dilfer. But getting back to that team had a legendary defense. Mm-hmm. And it's getting to be where years ago the ladder was quarterback, left tackle, and then everything else kind of just fell to the wayside. Now it's quarterback, pass rusher, left tackle. Mm-hmm. So the league is changing, and it is a very, very good time to be a D-end or a pass rusher. So you're going to see a lot more of those guys getting paid, which they honestly should, because they're if the pass rush didn't get to Brady, the Eagles don't win that Super Bowl. Hands down. So there's a lot with that, and there was one other thing I was going to bring up. I'm just going to keep talking until I remember. But no, like I said, there's I'm looking on NFL.com, and granted, it's kind of watered down because everyone on here got an A minus, or B plus. I think I've seen one C, and the only C they gave was actually the Saints. Mm-hmm. And the Saints are another one of those teams where you really don't hear a lot. You don't hear these splashes, and but they find these diamonds in the rough. Kamara, mm-hmm. 3rd or 4th round pick.
Yeah.
And all of their defensive studs are usually, you really don't see a big splash in the 1st or 2nd round with those cats. So the Browns had a very, very, very good draft. They went very defensive heavily. Mm-hmm. And
the Greedy Williams pick. I mean, they were talking about when this whole draft process was starting up. They were talking about him being a potential top 10 pick. A lot of people said the Lions were really high on him there for a bit,
but they took a tight end.
Yeah, but so for Cleveland, I mean, it's hard to argue that really any team had a better offseason than Cleveland.
Yes.
Before the draft, but for them to end up with a potential top 10 pick in the 2nd round.
Yeah,
I mean. Yeah, that's good for them.
And early on in the draft process, the for those of you that don't follow The Onion, they had a very, very good report on there that out of sheer habit, the GM for the Browns reportedly tried to get the number 1 overall pick just out of habit. And and yes, I know The Onion is complete satire. I was joking. And to kind of wrap up my draft analysis is Pittsburgh. That's the point I was going to bring up. For them to jump, to trade up to get Devin Bush is huge. Mm-hmm. Not only because, everyone here is a huge Devin Bush fan. here in Michigan. The kid's a baller.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
really is. And you could look back. I mean, granted, the Steelers have had their woes, their ups and downs, as far as some of the personalities there. What was missing was Ryan Shazier in the middle.
Yep, absolutely.
God bless him and all of his recovery. He's doing amazing. He's doing box jumps, which just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to see the potential, trade up to get a player like that to fill that massive hole is huge.
Yeah, and Bush is very, very similar to Shazier. I mean, the thing you can say about that I always hear when people were talking about Shazier was just how fast he was. Getting sideline to sideline, getting and being able to make those tackles. And I had the benefit of watching Bush at Michigan every weekend, and he is fast. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of talk about him being undersized, but he's not afraid to stick his head in there and make any hit that he needs to make either. So he's a stud.
And for if anyone questions his size, look at the tape.
Yeah,
the Big Ten is two gladiators beating the hell out of each other every week. So if he can survive that, I think he'll be okay. Yeah. I think he'll be okay. And they also took your boy Justin Lane, the corner. Looks like that was the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. They were high on local kids. They went Michigan, went a receiver out of Toledo, and Deontay Johnson. Took a linebacker out of Akron, Ulysses Gilbert.
Took the tight end from Michigan.
Yeah, Gentry. Yep. Yeah. Which that kid is huge.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he came into Michigan as a quarterback.
Did he really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A 6'9" quarterback?
Yep.
Wow.
He was actually, I want to say, and I could be wrong on this, but I want to say that he was committed to Texas. And when Harbaugh took the job at Michigan, that was like the first thing he did was he stole, on signing day, he stole him from Texas and brought him to Michigan. And he never even was on their roster as a quarterback. They just made him into a tight end right off the bat. So.
And I wish him the best luck. We all know how Jake Butt's career started.
Yeah,
which is a shame because he was another game-changing tight end. So hopefully he and that's a team that utilizes Big Ben utilizes the tight end a lot. Mm-hmm. Jesse James is gone. Mm-hmm. So that's a hole they filled, and I think they had a very, very nice pickup in that. But I think to me the main takeaway is, are there any players left on Alabama or Clemson? I mean,
and the saddest thing about it is, it would not shock me one bit if it was Alabama Clemson rematch and another in the championship again next year.
Yeah,
they don't rebuild there; they just reload every year.
Well, you look at those two teams; they have arguably the two best quarterbacks.
Yes,
in college football, and
two best coaches in college football.
One of them just got paid, so he
better be.
He better have his coaching pants on. But Dabo's a huge fan. Him and I talk a couple of times a week, and he'll have those boys ready. I'm almost positive. So yeah, we've kind of given you our 2 cents on the. Do you have anything else to kind of wrap up the first inaugural draft recap?
No.
All right, and for those ladies that were pissed that their bachelorette parties were interrupted by the draft, can go fuck themselves. If you did not know, first of all, if you planned this and didn't know about this, how? What rock are you living under? You obviously partake at these establishments. You would have known, I'm sure, unless you're that dumb. But I digress. All right, so let's move into, you guys want an NBA? We're going to give you some NBA. And it's, literally, 3 weeks since the playoffs started, and they're in round 2 now?
Yeah, we're just getting to the second round, so
awesome.
Things are heating up.
We are getting to the nitty-gritty, folks. And for those of you that do not know, the second round got underway last night. And Boston took a 1-0 lead over Milwaukee, and Toronto has a 1-0 lead over Philadelphia. And before my internet took a shit, we were watching Golden State and Houston. And Golden State had a slight lead at that point. It was just getting into the second quarter. And it looks like Portland and Denver are tipping off later tonight. I really don't think there was any surprises in the first round. I think some teams were tested that we didn't think were going to be tested. Mostly being Denver and Golden State. And again, the disappointment, like we talked about. What the hell do you do in OKC now?
That's was it you that put that on the 2K page? Okay, see you later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's bad. Just fits them to a T. Try again next year.
Yes. And speaking of things posted, I don't think I posted this in the 2K's page. I might have posted it on my personal page, but if not, let me find it. Here it is. It's from Fake Sports Center, which if you want all of your up and coming news, that is one of the things to follow on ESPN and on Facebook rather. It's a meme of James Harden says Steph Curry, chicken curry. Hell, you can curry the 1 and divide by 4 if you want. Don't matter. Rockets in 4. Do I agree with that? Absolutely not. But it's fucking hilarious.
No, it would not shock me for the Rockets to win the series, but
they're not sweeping.
I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7. I mean,
well, that's I went out on a limb last week and told you that Houston was going to win it all. So, but yeah, to win it in 4, I doubt it. But those memes are always hilarious, and I love sharing them. It's like when you and I were talking before we hit record. Boston's coming together, I think, at the right time.
Yes,
and they're scary.
Yes,
they're scary.
Yeah, they basically. I watched a little bit of the game, the game 1, and the Bucks are the team that I picked. I picked them last week to win it all, and game 1, Celtics just kind of had their way with them. Then the biggest thing is that they're forcing the Freak to have to beat them with a jump shot. Mm-hmm. Take away everything. Don't let him get in the paint and make him have to beat you with a jump shot. And he. Kind of the same thing that we talked about with Ben Simmons last week. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have a jump shot.
No.
I think his jump shot's a little bit better than where Simmons is at this time.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's still not a jump shot that I trust, and you can't. It's the Freak is so good. It's so hard to stop him. So the only thing you can do is contain him.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of pick your poison with him. You have to take away. You can't let him get in the paint. You have to force him to shoot to beat you, from the perimeter. And Celtics did it in game 1. They, I'd be surprised if they can do it, and win a 7-game series.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for me, it's one of those. You can kind of let Giannis go. You have to contain him, but you got to shut everyone else down. Mm-hmm. And Boston's a team and defensively that can do it. The complete flip side is there might be some scoring records set in Golden State and Houston. So I don't think either team plays defense. So, and I mean, you have arguably the 2 best scorers in Harden and Durant in that series, in that game. So, I have a feeling that, it was almost 30. They almost scored 30 points each in the first quarter. So, obviously, they're banging, the bigs are banging around underneath and getting some stuff done. Not really, but everyone else is shooting the daylights out of everything. And, while we were out to dinner last night, we caught some of the Toronto-Philly game. Mm-hmm. And, it's Toronto's scary good right now, too.
Yes.
Scary good. And I think that could ultimately be. I could see that one going 4. It's just which 76ers team are you going to see? Mm-hmm. They are still a very young team. They're still trying to figure out how to win. They're still trying to figure out all of this. So it's just a matter of not if they figure it out, but when. Mm-hmm. Because that's such a talented group of dudes that it might take them a couple games. But when you only need to win 4, those 2 games that you're trying to figure shit out could be your detriment. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was shocked to see Boston come out on top. over the Bucks. That, to me, and let's see. Yeah, both sides of the bracket are pretty much chalk. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there really weren't any surprises.
No, the series, San Antonio and Denver series, that was a
good one.
series.
That was a good one.
Came down to Game 7 last night, and the Nuggets. I mean, after the Warriors talking out in the West, I think that just watching them, because I watched probably 10, 15 Nuggets games this year. They're impressed. They were impressive to me.
You've been on their you've been on their bandwagon all season.
Yes. And they have, and they don't really have that one guy they have 4 or 5 different guys, and it could be, it's someone different every night for them. But like we said last week, you can never count out San Antonio in the playoffs.
Nope.
And they took them all the way down to the wire, and San Antonio, they're not even close on paper to the team that Denver has there.
No.
So to force them to Game 7, kudos to them. But going back into the East with the Celtics and the Bucks, the Celtics they're hot right now. I mean, that's scary, because when you get hot, they're getting hot at the right time, and if they take out the Bucks,
I think this is a Celtics team that we all thought was going to be there all year.
Mm-hmm.
Barring Kyrie was banged up.
Took a long time for Hayward to get
which that was a nasty
going.
Injury.
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me if he played like shit all year and came back next year and he's back to where he was when he was with the Jazz. And so for them to come together finally, like they are right now, is huge, because like I said, I think you and I can both agree that the talent in the West is way, way better than the talent in the East. Yes. And for them to come together and at least, I mean, obviously they're making it a series because they took Game 1, but yeah, to see that come around, because there's just too many talented dudes on that team to not be successful. And I'm watching James Harden play like a douche. And that's, to go kind of on a complete tangent, I hate watching him play.
Yeah. There's some things that he does, though, that are just amazing to me. And I love watching good offense.
He's a great scorer. Mm-hmm. He's a great penetrator. He's a great finisher. But that two-footed hop he does, left to right or back, that drives me nuts. That's a travel. Stop it. Stop it.
Back in our day, it was a travel. But they let more things go every season, it seems like. Pretty soon I think they're going to get 5 steps before they have to dribble.
Well, I'm pretty sure LeBron got 7 this year. If you watch that one play.
Yeah, he catches the ball at like half court and goes from half court and dunks it. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, he didn't even dribble the ball once.
I'm pretty sure you could write that up too. His fucks were given at that point.
Yeah.
He's like, do you know who I am?
I think I can catch the ball at half court. And if you gave me 7 steps without having to dribble, I could probably dunk it like that too.
Yeah. And we're not even 6'10" like he is. But no, I don't know. This is one of the reasons why I don't get this big into the NBA. Granted, I do get into it during the playoffs because every sport's better in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's and I know I'm comparing apples to oranges when I'm talking about the All-Star game.
Mm.
That's a 3-point shooting contest.
Oh yeah, so boring.
And granted, obviously, we're looking at shooters that are becoming better and better and better all the time, which is good. Mm-hmm. It's good. You as an NBA professional, you should shoot at a high clip. But man, I miss the days of the big guys pounding each other, under the basket, post moves, post ups. And now it's just it seems like it's more isolation plays than anything. Mm-hmm. And which, you got to give big kudos to Golden State, because there's any one of 5 guys that could go off for 50 every game. Mm-hmm. It's not the same dude all the time. It's not James Harden had how many games in a row did he go over 30 points? And it was basically because he had to, because Chris Paul was down.
Yeah, Chris Paul down.
Capella was down.
Mm-hmm.
So it was necessity.
Yeah.
And I think gone are the days of the dominant big man.
And that was so impressive to me with when Harden just basically put the team on his back in that situation when Paul and Capella are both down for you, and he just a lot of teams would have just been done there.
Yeah.
They could have buried themselves so deep that they wouldn't have been able to even get back into the playoff picture, and he kept them right there at the top the entire time. Every single time you looked at the stats after the game, you're like, oh, Harden scoring 50 again.
Well, the impressive part with him is he'd go 3 quarters and have 8 points, and then finish the game with 40.
Yeah,
and he would hold on. What? Fuck, he did. Yeah,
but then you would look at the stats because when you first look at it, you're like, oh, Harden scored 50 tonight. What a ball hog! No, he had 50 points, 14 assists, 12 rebounds. I mean, he was during that time. He wasn't just scoring the ball; he was averaging a triple double.
Yeah.
So
I mean it, and now he's flopping after shooting a 3.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
They don't flop in the NBA.
Yeah. Okay. Neither do soccer players either. But no, and yeah, just the TV just came back on, so we're kind of enthralled in this. But yeah, it's I go shoot a 3, we get a rebound. You go shoot a 3, we get the rebound. And it's like, man, this for me it seems it's boring, even though there's a lot of points being put up. This isn't the style of basketball I like.
Yeah, I don't get into the playoff basketball until it gets into conference finals.
June.
Yeah. About another month and a half from now, that's when I'll start tuning in. We get through all this, but yeah, that's my biggest complaint about the NBA is the playoff system is just too long. You have to cut down the teams, or you have to shorten up series, and maybe in the first round or 2 play 5-game series instead of a 7.
And that's something that Mike Wilbon has been huge on. He thinks every best of 7 series, when he's talking any playoffs, should go by like what baseball does and do the best of 5 for the first round. And I'm all for it.
Yes.
And
and the caliber of basketball that you would watch would be even better because there's more urgency. We have to win this game.
Yep.
So,
and it gets back to kind of some of the stuff we touched on last week, where it's like, come on, man, you play on Monday and don't play until Thursday, and you didn't even travel. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
You can play back to back.
Yes.
And if nothing else, give you a day. You don't need fucking 4 days. I'm sorry. You're just dragging shit out. And, that I get way more hype for college basketball than I do for pros. And it's not just recently. It's always been that way.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I love about college basketball is when you get into, the big dance, it's win or go home.
Yep.
You get one game,
and that is to me, that's one of the greatest things in sports is March Madness.
Yes, it is the toughest championship to win in all of sports.
Yes, you're one of 68 teams that's invited to this tournament.
Your best player goes out, has an off night, and goes 3 of 15.
Yep,
you lose. Yeah, and you're done.
It's not like you don't get that. Come back for game 2.
Yes, yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm to me that makes the sport so much different, so much better, and they're even talking about moving their 3-point line out and just and making the paint bigger, the same as in the NBA. So I think there's changes coming to that game as well, but yeah, that's and everyone in the NBA is such a fucking whiner. Stop it.
What?
Oh, he touched me. And they always go up to the official and they're like, "What? You didn't see that?"
No,
Stop.
I could sit here all day and just keep on bringing up more things that upset me with the NBA. But the thing that probably gets me the most are when they started out with this. Well, you got to have a big 3.
Yeah.
This year's been a little bit different. Some teams are starting to even up, but the last 2-3 years, you didn't even need to have a regular season. Everybody knew it was going to be Cavs and Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't we just line them up and let them play 7 games? We don't even need a season. What the hell is the point of having these other teams? That was a problem for me. There was no...
There's no drama with it. There's no intrigue.
Nothing that draws anybody in because we already knew. So if you're not a Warriors fan or you're not a Cavs fan, what the hell's the point? Like,
well, that in this region puts you as a Pistons fan, and all I can say is Stevie Y came back to town. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that's our. Do you have anything else to wrap up our?
No, we'll touch back in on this NBA stuff in about another month.
Yeah. When it gets down to the final game, or the final series here in the middle of June, so you'll probably be hearing us again, but not for a while. All right. Well, 2K crew, want to give a big shout out to you guys and gals. You know, I enjoy reading all of your banter in the Facebook page. I am going to start a Facebook group because from what I've been hearing, it's a little easier to communicate in a group setting. So we'll give that a shot, and it's easier to get notifications and stuff from being in a group as opposed to following a page. So we're going to give that a try. I'll get that set up this week. But until then, facebook.com/turbo2ks, our Gmail, turbo2ks@gmail.com. We have our Patreon set up. We haven't had anyone sign up yet, but it's there. There's some added member content in there, so that's always awesome. And we went over 350 downloads.
Nice.
Which, if getting back to our conversation after the first 100, I'm shocked people still want to listen to us. But no, we want to give a shout out to all of our listeners. Keep following us on Spotify and iTunes. And like I've been pushing people towards Spotify because it's so much easier to use, so much easier to search. There's just a lot more stuff you can do with it. iTunes is probably the biggest podcast platform, but it's not very user friendly, and ultimately you have to have an iPhone to use it. So whereas Spotify, it's all platforms, it's easy to use, and what's really kind of cool is a lot of the folks have told me that, you know, this is their first podcast experience, and now they're finding other cool shit to listen to. Mm. So if nothing else, we're opening doors for everyone else. So, and you know, there's a couple of my buddies that barely even listen to the radio in the car anymore. They listen to podcasts, and it was our show that kind of opened the door for that. So we're not entertaining. We're both entertaining and educating. So you're welcome on both fronts. And with that being said, hopefully our guest that was supposed to be here this week feels better and we can get her in either next week or the week after.
I know next week, another thing I want to throw in too, next weekend is our partner Christian is playing true. Franklin Plummer at the Plummer Ranch in the one-on-one basketball.
Yes,
I think we are. I know. I will be attending. Are you planning on attending that?
I'm planning on it. There might be some video and some commentary that we're going to post. So even if we don't, I'm sure there'll be plenty.
Mm-hmm. And for our local listeners, I don't have a time on when that's going to be. I'm not maybe
sure
there is something on the Facebook. But I mean, we'll find it. We'll post it on the face. On our
I want to say
page.
It's 3:00. That sounds somewhere in there.
Frank's inviting people over, and you want to drink a few brews and watch some two guys that are probably out of their prime playing one-on-one basketball.
Should we place a bet now to see who gets more sweaty? Christian or Franklin? And if said dude does get sweaty, does the shirt come off?
Oh, I think it has to be shirt and skins, anyways.
I'm pretty sure there's no shame in Christian's game. He might just play without pants too.
Yeah, and every time Christian gets in anything, it seems like the shirt. He always removes the shirt, so he'll probably be the first one that removes that. Well, and he also has a sweater on underneath his shirt, so. It should be very disgusting.
Breathe. There's going to be way too much man out in the open, out in the wild for probably any of us. So, and again, we invited you, yet we're providing caution as well.
Yes.
So you might want to leave the ladies and young children at home. But with that being said, let's get out of here. We're hitting that hour mark. So thank you again, guys and gals, 2K crew, and we will see you next week. And Jim Rome, we're coming for you. Yeah, Christian's definitely going to have a shirt off.